Hey, good morning, everyone. This room is a bit different than the normal room that we have. So you will only see the speaker at the time that they are speaking. And I'm Jim Nupp. I'm Deputy Commissioner with the Department of Real Estate. Go ahead and get this town hall kicked off. So wanted to cover some changes, and then I'll turn it over to Mandy to talk about some additional updates, and then we'll keep going through staff as we go down. At the Department of Real Estate, many of you know, Marley has left the department. She got a great job with the City of Phoenix, and she's working on policy development there with the City of Phoenix Police Department. So it's right up her alley. Many of you may not have known, but she actually finishes up her law degree at the end of next fall. So it'll be a nice transition for her into the next portion of what she hopes to get out of her career. So we're very happy for her. But of course, whenever you lose a good employee, it's that greedy, happy, sad, and bittersweet. Yeah. But luckily, we did have on staff Elena Kavaleski. Elena has served in the auditor and investigator manager role for about a year now. And then about 3 months ago, I stole it from Mandy. We're still working on our relationship mending on that.
And all of you know me so well, so it's lots of
The gifts are every week. No, and Elena has stepped into the role beautifully, as I'm sure you've experienced, and we had a great staff already. Jackie, you're going to meet April today, and our staff is why we are successful at what we do. As many of you know, and you rely on your employees to back you up, to make sure that things are getting done. We are no different, and that's all credit to you guys. Okay, legislative session is over, thankfully. About a week and a half ago, sine die. There are some pieces of legislation that Elena is going to talk about. One of them was promoted by the department and makes a lot of sweeping updates to the department. We luckily had the support of industry, as well as obviously the legislature and governor's office. And we look forward to talking about what some of those changes are, because they will impact directly the real estate education community. Okay. We do have a budget as well. Thank you. Thank you, Mandy. Yeah, we do have a budget as well. Every single lump sum budget did get a reduction to their budget, and every reduction to the budget was about 2 to 3%. That allows the state to be financially solvent for 3 years. So that's why we did it. It becomes a Wild West in about 3 years, but we will hold the line, and our reduction is about $110,000. We went through budget exercises to see how we would absorb that. We have no concerns. There's no impact to staffing levels at 110%. So that should be just fine. We also, during budget negotiations, had a head cap count. It's kind of like a hiring freeze, but simply says, here's your head cap. You cannot go above it. And it's a moment in time. That has been lifted now that the budget's been passed. And so we can go ahead and hire either one, maybe two, just one auditor. And we just backfilled a position in licensing due to a promotion. And so we're happy to have an individual online on board and move forward with that. In other large department changing news, the 5-year role review is due this Friday. I got it turned in yesterday. The 5-year role review is a requirement by statute. So many of you talk about and have heard commissioners' rules. What that literally means, obviously, is Arizona Administrative Code. Every 5 years, every single department is required to go through a portion of the administrative code that they are responsible for. The Department of Real Estate is split into two groups. It is one is due this year, one is due next year. As you may be aware, the department has failed since 2006 to successfully rulemaking on anything. That's not great, guys. The idea that we've not updated our rules in 2 decades is shameful. And we heard about it last time we were at the 5-year rule review from the Governor's Regulatory Review Council, where we promised to make updates to 3 sections of our rules. Okay, Christina, I'm sure that's a question you can ask at some point. The rules, so we decided to, instead of do it piecemeal, half of them this year, half of them next year, knowing that we were going to be running SB 1171 with so many changes, so many updates, we decided to ask for a 120-day extension, and that extension is due this Friday. We did complete the rule review. We looked to expire 3 rules, looked to create a rule. We'll talk a little bit about that in the legislation. But I can tell you it's long overdue. We're going to turn to stakeholders, provide you the drafts of what we want as soon as we know that we're allowed by the governor's office to have the exemption for rulemaking. So we submitted to the governor's office the request, the draft of the rulemaking that we would look to do, addressing each of the issues. I mean, guys, I went back to 2014 to find legislative changes that are not integrated into our rules. So that's how far back I know to go. I'm sure from 2014 back to 2006, there were additional changes I'm just not aware of and adopted as common practice. So 5-year rule review is a big deal. We look forward to working with you as stakeholders as we're allowed. Yeah, we'll bring you into the fold, make sure we get things right in our rules. Okay, NAR update. Just really put this on the agenda because we want you to know we're not operating in a black hole. We're following the news. When that was said about Arizona's forms being questioned, that was certainly news to us, but it was clearly misinformation. So yeah, we already do know about California being looked into by the DOJ. We're not operating blindly here. We are following what's going on, and we're going to continue to work with you, the industry, as well as making sure consumers are protected. An example of that I was thinking through is, whether you know it or not, we hold basically quarterly meetings with the local VA here. The local VA is actually where all housing policy is developed and all mortgages are created for VA loans. The people who work in VA home loans are actually located here in Phoenix. We meet with them basically on a quarterly cadence. We met with them most recently in April to see, hey, what are you going to do for buyers in this instance? And so we're happy to be able to provide them technical knowledge, information, and see what policy decisions that they're making and see if we can have a positive impact for you, for the industry, and for the consumer. So with that, we'll turn it over to Miss Mandy.
Having a party. Great job, Jim.
I do not like the angle of this camera. This is not selfie mode. So it's so nice to see all of you online. Andy, I saw your face and it just made me so happy. Everybody made me happy.
Back at you.
It's because of him I even had a real estate license. So thank you, Andy. So today I am excited to go over, wait, I needed your cheat sheet. I didn't get that cheat sheet. I just reviewed it with you. A few awesome things that are changing. Pre-licensing updates. We are almost to the halfway mark. Unfortunately, there are lots of layers, so it's not rolling out as fast as I anticipated, but you all know how impatient I am as a human being, so that's not exactly weird. We have turned in 200 new items to the exam, created a new content outline, created a new curriculum outline, working on learning objectives for each area. We'll have everything in a full package by the end of the year for sure, but hoping to have enough done with Pearson VUE that we have the ability to roll out with 6 months and then go into effect of actually teaching it and training on the courses. So you'll have a 6-month window. Nothing to be fearful of. I'm really excited about the 2-part exam. I'm really excited about showcasing and showing you guys all the hard work our subject matter experts have done and all the hard work that Pearson VUE is doing on our behalf as well. I will tell you, these are extremely tedious tasks to get items in, but it's totally worth it. One of the great things to know is that every time items are written, am I too loud?
No.
Oh.
Same thing.
Yeah, we don't see it at all because we look up.
I asked Jason to join. So he can-
You look up, you look forward, you do not look down, right? And so everything's reviewed by the subject matter expert, and then we independently go into Pearson VUE's database and have to type in the questions or items. At that point, the items are going to be reviewed by their editor on staff to make sure they make sense, right? Even though they make sense because they've been reviewed like 3 times by this point. And that thing I'm not great at is punctuation, let's face it. So when you respond to me in a newsletter or Facebook feed or a LinkedIn feed and saying I misspelled something, all I can say in return is thank you for reading it. So these items are being taken care of. Hey, Dana, what's up? Dana Kitchen just joined us, everyone online. She's lovely. Podcast, I'm really excited about this. So a big complaint has been, hey, the bulletins went away. All these emails went away. Yeah, we talked about our head count, right? I have 25 people, 87,000 licensees, a very heavy investigation complaint front. I have a very heavy enforcement and compliance front. Our licensing team is turning things over in 1 day. We have educators that, how long does it take you to get a course approved here when everything's on point?
Not even a day.
Not even a day. Do you want that to continue? Yeah, we can't slow it down then. If you log into following our Facebook, our LinkedIn, and I think it's called X, but on Hootsuite, it still says Twitter. So I'm totally cool with the bird. We are posting everything, including the educational town halls. Nothing has been a secret. So it's all accessible. You can pick up the phone and call us. We're all accessible. And the podcast is going to be called Direct Real-Time Information with the Arizona Department of Real Estate. In short, DRT with AZRE. So get all the dirt here. I really like it. We will also be rolling out after that. You're going to see that a blog will be coming with it on our new website. But again, things take time and a lot of time in government. So it takes a minute to get everything approved and get it out to the public. But I'm really excited that we have about 50 different audiences actually that will be focused on. I mean, if you think about it, licensees and educators, that's 2 audiences. We have our stakeholders, which is licensees and all organized real estate. We have the legislator. We have the media. Like, think about every facet, and most importantly, the public. If they could just understand, right? And we get they only tune in when they want to. Okay, we all get that. But really excited about the podcast, the TV, and the blog. So you'll have better ways to go and just grab the information. CE outlines, big questions. Why are we not approving classes that are based on forms? Really hard for someone to wrap their head around it that's in the trenches. Because I will tell you, as a broker, I would have a hard time understanding this. A year in as a regulator, I have no issues understanding this any further. A CE class is a certification from the state that says, I approve the content of this course. We are cool with this. You know what we don't approve? Other people's forms. You know why? Because it's not ours to approve. You know, the law is so, Aaron's taught me so much in my time, even as a broker. The law is so set and, okay, this is what an employment agreement is. Cool. We can certify teaching to what an employment agreement is. If it happens to wrap something in, great. But the course needs to be on what is an employment agreement? What are the areas? So if you're seeing uncomfortableness in the industry, I can't believe it, but I pulled out docs from 1968 upstairs that show course outlines that taught people what a contract was. I'm not saying we don't need the contracts. Trust me, we need the contracts. But wouldn't it be great if a CE course just went a little bit deeper? But maybe a form is part of that CE course, but the whole CE course being, we're going to teach you today how to fill in blanks. It cannot be it, right? How many of you have ever taught on the on-site wastewater treatment facility addendum provided by the Arizona Association of Realtors? Well, I'm going to pretend everybody raised their hand. Thank you. Right. And what does that form encapsulate? The law. It encapsulates the Arizona Department of Water Resources and the requirements of a resale residential transaction to occur. So it's a great document to bring into a course, but what are you really teaching? The requirements of selling a home with a septic system, which, by the way, is very confusing because they really do say septic on the Department of Water Resources, but then they say on-site. It's cool. I go with it. So you're going to see some things shifting on what gets approved, what doesn't get approved. So when you're writing CE courses, do me a favor. Is this only to teach a form? Because that doesn't need certification. That needs a broker to teach the forms that they want as a standard of practice and just to the form. Or is this teaching more than just a form? Is this teaching why the form is needed, how it's utilized, the importance of it? One of my favorite forms that you all teach, and I hope you continue to teach, I hope it's the first thing you teach, is the agency disclosure form, agency disclosure and election. And what does that teach to? Case law. And pre-licensing, by the way. It'd be so exciting. They're going to know things like that, but not exactly about a form. So those are some updates. So I have any questions on my piece? Jenny?
So currently the introduction to contract writing course is kind of a 6-hour review.
It sure is.
The forms.
Mhm.
Is that going to be changing?
Not immediately. But, and it's not something on our horizon in 2020, we're fiscal year 2025. And we're only speaking on renewals. So, but that is a renewal course. But at this point, we're not looking into shifting that right now. My main focus is completing pre-licensing, please. Oh, it's not the, it's, oh, right, ADEQ. I sounded so cool for a second. No, you're good. You know, we just, well, Elena will go into it, but we're also working with some new acronyms I'm learning, like the Department of Forestry, and they're lovely people. But she'll go into that deeper. Any other questions for me? Can you repeat any, oh, I'll go to you in 1 second, Erin. Can you repeat any in-house questions for us online? Oh, yes. She asked, Jenny Hogan asked if we are going to redo the required 6-hour contract writing course at this time, and the answer is not at this time, because it actually does currently teach, yeah, to a form, but internally in that form right now, we do view it as it teaches to what actually takes to make a contract as well, because they go over what consideration is, they go over naming a property, they go over a close of escrow date. Aaron.
I've been hearing some things about, as long as it's not like just teaching the form, but it's teaching some other subject, that's
Yeah.
okay to incorporate. the form
Absolutely.
discussion of it. I've been hearing some things about the department's concern about drafts and having discussions about drafts was not appropriate. But as long as you're fully utilized samples that have been fully approved and they're not going to change at all, is that okay? Or is draft okay?
Aaron, oh, okay, sorry. Aaron's asking if we're going to approve draft forms as courses that can be taught in a form. I don't see us approving, even if it wasn't a draft concept, of certain employment agreements, because again, we want to speak to what an employment agreement is. So that would be a non-CE class. And everybody who was going to teach on the new draft forms was called and told that could be done, but not for CE hours, because the Department of Real Estate is not here to certify if that is a form that should be used by consumers and their agents. And that's not only, I want to make this very clear. This is not an attack on an association. There are other companies that create employment agreements. One that NAR just paired up with is Zillow. They brought us their agreement, and boy, was that sucker red line. Like, okay, cool. We can't tell you what to use. You need an attorney. But there's some issues here when it comes to how our state laws read and consumer protections. So it's not just Arizona Realtor forms. It's any and all forms. It's just most residential people in Arizona are used to just one set of forms. But also, please note, our department doesn't only regulate residential real estate. We also, outside of, we have commercial who really need some courses. Please teach commercial courses. I'm telling you, they need some courses. We have timeshares, membership campgrounds, and cemeteries. And yes, we do things with cemeteries, but I refuse to go out.
So, can I ask a follow-up? I'm sorry.
Mhm.
So just to be clear, so if you're asking to approve a class on contracts,
Mhm.
and you do contracts and you can show the drafts or anything you want as examples of contracts, that would be acceptable?
You can show, you just can't teach on for certified CE hours, because I don't certify or the department does not certify, commissioner does not certify your employment agreement. We have a very broad, this is what an employment agreement is. It's up to every broker individually and association individually or company individually to decide what their agents are going to use. But anytime we certify a course here at the Department of Real Estate, what happens is we're telling that licensee, this is what the state of Arizona approves of. We don't get that. We don't have an Arizona state employment agreement that's required. Therefore, there's nothing for us to approve when it comes to a form. Liz.
This isn't a change. The department has always required that the classes teach the law, Arizona law, either administrative code or statute. So that's not a change except for the 6-hour contract writing class. This isn't a change or anything. That's the way it's always been.
So Liz Hill said this is the way it's been, and this is not a change. The department has always required statute and Arizona Administrative Code. We're trying to stop calling it Commissioner Rules because she doesn't own it. And then I have a couple of questions online. Then I need to pass the mic over because we promised you guys a certain timeline. So the hands that were up, did they lower them? Hi, John Kitchen. Was your hand up?
Yes, it was. I just want to go on record as an old guy here, and like many of us. I just don't like the fact that the only communication we could possibly get from the department, excuse me, is social media. For those of us that don't do social media, I don't want to have to go there and wade through someone's picture of their lunch or their cat rolling over. I want a direct message from the department telling me updates or news or anything else. I think stopping all of that communication and the quarterly bulletins and everything else is a detriment to the schools, is a detriment to the instructors and to the real estate licensees out there. I know you're not going to change it, Mandy, but I'm just going on record saying that I think it was a poor decision and it needs to be maybe reevaluated. So that's all I really wanted to say.
Thank you, John. And I do hear you. And as somebody who loves updates consistently, I am someone, and so is the entire department, that would love to see our ability and our weeks to be able to create those bulletins. This is why we're bringing out a new version of a blog and a podcast that will be easily searchable and fast and post on everything for everybody. We also have been in process of our great Jason, I don't even know his title is this long now, creating a new website. One of our issues is our website is no longer sustained. It's on this program called Drupal 8. We need to upgrade. We can't even upgrade, honestly, to the best one. We're upgrading to Drupal 9, and that will give us more abilities. It was actually failing in many areas and keeping old information top of mind and not the new information, and it continued to be an IT issue.
In a recent search, I saw that we have 112,000 ADA compliant.
And we have 112,000 ADA compliance issues with our website, and Governor Hobbs wants everybody to update their websites to be in compliance.
And that website and not search for social if you want to find anything located.
Oh, yeah. But right now, everything is on the homepage of azre.gov for any and all of our postings that are current, because we were able to bring in a little widget and do that. Any other questions for me before it's Elena? Well, I appreciate all of you. I always look forward to seeing you. And if you ever have a direct question, we have the message center and direct emails and phone numbers, and please contact us. Elena, it's all you, but wait, don't be rude. Don't leave the window. I know. I shake your hand now. We pass the mic, right?
Hello, everyone. Thank you for such short notice for scheduling. We booked the other conference room at the other office across the street. The capacity is 25. I had, I think, 58 RSVPs for in-person. So I rescheduled it for today, and I know that summer is in full effect for everyone's children. So my apologies on making you adjust your schedule. So thank you. Well, I have quite a bit to go over today. A lot of data to dump on you. A lot is good, and some are some pretty severe changes. So let's first go into our advisory board. We have 3 new members. We have one who is in this room, Elaine White.
I'll do my best.
She is with Maricopa County. She has residential real estate experience. We also have Matt Cody, who is in subdivisions, and he is with Cachet Homes. And then we also have Kelly Harrington. I was right with her last name. Okay, and she is multifamily, and she's in Pinal County. There is some very exciting news. In Senate Bill 1171, which I'll go over, we now have a new position on the advisory board, which is vacant, and that includes a school administrator or instructor who has been in 5 years up to appointment. So if you are interested in being on the advisory board as an educator, instructor, or a school administrator, please email me your resume, and I would be happy to look at that and send that to the governor's office. So welcome, Ellie. We're very excited about the advisory board. If you would like to change that in your education material, I know many schools speak to the advisory board. We will go into Senate Bill 1171, and I just have a quick pop quiz. How much of a broker's own money can be in a trust account?
$3,000.
3,000. Okay, that was changed to 5,000. So that's something you'll want to update in your course material. Senate Bill 1171, the biggest change that I think a lot of jaws will drop when you hear this. This was not something that we had in our drafts. It was amended on the floor by Senate President Warren Peterson. And that would mean that a license can be inactive for 15 years without taking continuing education. I will expand on that. So an inactive license, you have to request to have an inactive license by an application that is set forth by the commissioner. You do have to renew your license every 2 years and pay the renewal fee. If you take continuing education as prescribed in statute within that 2 years, you will be considered eligible to go back to active status. If you do not take your CE, you will accrue CE. You will remain in inactive status for 15 years. Year number 14, we will send you a notification that you have 1 more year left until your license will go into expired status. After year 15, you're in expired status for a year. And then you go to terminated status, in which you will have to take the exam to get back to inactive status. So that is a major adjustment. And I know everyone in the school role teaches to licensing timeframes. So I wanted to go over a little bit and read the draft language that we have that we will propose in rule. But it is set forth in statute. So as of September 14th, this will go into effect. So the draft language is as follows. And I won't read the entire thing, I'll just go over the accrual for CE. If inactive for less than 3 years, a licensee is required to complete the same number of continuing education hours as provided for in ARS 322130. If inactive for more than 3 years, but less than 6 years, a licensee is required to complete 6 hours of the continuing education hours in addition to 24 continuing education credit hours required if the licensee were not inactive for salesperson, or 30 continuing education hours required if the licensee were not inactive for a broker or license reactivating with delegated authority. If inactive for more than 6 years, but less than 10 years, a licensee is required to complete 15 hours of continuing education hours in addition to the 24 or the 30. And if inactive for more than 10 years, but less than 15, a licensee is required to complete 30 hours of the continuing education hours in addition to the 24 or 30. So that is a massive adjustment. And I can see by a few faces here, there's some shock. Yes, question.
So are those education requirements required for them to transfer from inactive back to active status? Or if they're taking that education anyways, do they not follow? If you're an inactive agent and you're taking continuing education every 2 years, does that extend you past the 15 years if you've taken CE, or?
No.
15, that's it.
Repeat the question. The answer is no, 15 years of statute after you apply for it. 15 years to get.
Yes, so Jenny asked if you are in inactive status, if you continue to take CE, would that apply? And the answer is no. If you are in inactive status, you would have to take the CE in the 2-year period and then renew it and go back to eligible status. But we do have that draft language. I could read the full extent of it if you'd like, or I can send it to you via email.
Just come out with the.
Yes, which will come out with the rule package. Okay, form frenzy. This is something that the governor's office has been implementing statewide. We are very excited about this, and I think all of you are as well. Those of you online, do you remember this application form? Used to be many, many pages, I think over 40 pages. At minimum, it would take 2 days, maximum about 2 weeks to complete this daunting task. It is now 2 pages, and we have received feedback that it took them 20 minutes to complete this form. So we're very excited about that and continuing to update our forms across other divisions within the department.
What was that?
Pre-license. Yeah, that is the pre-license application. Education audits. So in the previous town hall, Commissioner talked about the new audit process that I created. It has officially been rolled out, and I am someone who believes in full transparency. So on September 11th at 10 a.m., I'll send an invite out to everyone and also include this on our new calendar that we will have on our website. I am hosting an audit workshop. So I will tell you exactly what the audit process looks like, exactly what we're looking for, step by step, full transparency. And I know a lot of school instructors and administrators, they teach to the audit process. Some volunteer course monitors gave feedback of all of the schools that teach to that. And at this point, since it's updated, the information would be inaccurate. So upon renewal, this would be looked at on your outline. So excited for that. I hope everyone can make it to the audit workshop. New CE courses. We have the 3 new CE courses that are 50 minutes. We have the deed fraud, Firewise, and water. Those will be available starting July 1st. So there's 2 different options. We have full course packages that were created internally. We have the full course packages include the presentation, all of the course materials, resources for the students, and those will be available for purchase for $200 each or $500 for the package of the 3. We also are providing free outlines to every course. So you are welcome to create your own courses around that outline and then submit them to the department for approval. As of January 1st, 2025, these courses will be required upon renewal of licensees. Mhm.
That's the question.
Sure.
Do they have to remain as separate 1 classes, or can they be combined as a 1 3-hour class with those 3 sections?
It would be reviewed on a case-by-case basis depending on the outline.
Thank you.
Can you repeat those options again real quick? You wrote classes for these 3 categories or these 3 topics that we can buy and from you and teach in our school?
That is correct.
Well, can you repeat those options again or that menu quick?
Yes, so there is a course on deed fraud, 50-minute deed fraud course, a 50-minute Firewise course, and a 50-minute water course that are mandatory for licensees to take upon renewal starting January 1st of 2025. The department internally created those courses.
And the prices?
Yes, for the entire package, which includes a presentation, an expanded outline with course materials and resources for students, is $200 per course or $500 for the package. And then we do provide free outlines.
Okay, where do we get that?
I can send the link in an email once time gets a little bit closer, but they will be available on our website,
Okay, thank you very much.
of course.
What is the CE category for those?
General. The category will be general for CE.
Can a school purchase the whole package for $500 and then assign multiple instructors to it? So it'll like cost the school $500.
Yes, that is correct. Liz asked if you could buy the course and share it with multiple different instructors in your school. Yes, if the school purchases the courses, you can have as many instructors qualified to teach that as you see fit. Anyone online have questions about the CE courses? John? Kitchen?
Yeah, can those be either live or, streaming Zoom?
We have not approved them for distance learning at this time, but we are open to
I
that.
didn't say distance learning. I said live or Zoom.
Yes,
Okay, so they could be either one.
correct, yes.
Okay.
Karen?
Hello there. I just have a quick question. You said on January 1st, 2025, they will be required. It will be in the general category. Can you hear me?
Yes, there's just an echo, but we can hear you.
Okay. Okay. And so I'm wondering, will that be add to the 24 hours currently required? So there will now be 27 hours, or will we just plug that into the 24 hours already required?
It would be plugged in the 24 hours. We're not requiring any additional hours. We're just including these to be in that 24 hour.
Perfect. Thank you.
Of course. Anyone else online? Okay, another process update, one that I'm working on because I'm not so much a fan of it, and I don't think anyone in this room or online would either. Pearson VUE, when students take the Pearson VUE exam and they pass, they used to print the application right when they passed on site. They do not do that anymore. What they do is your score report prints out on one piece of paper, and on that piece of paper is a link to go to where your application is. This is not a good use of anyone's time. And it is about 120 characters long. So you have to type in verbatim that link. And I think we get about 60 phone calls a day of where the application is. So I'm working on fixing that. Pearson VUE claims that that's not something that their system can handle, yet it's just one more piece of paper. So that's something I'm working on. But if you do want to tell your students ahead of time when they go to Pearson VUE, if they pass the exam, that link is right at the top of their score report, that it will give them instructions of where to go to get the application.
It's on the website. I saw there.
I added it to the website because it was so confusing for students. Yes, yes. I'm trying not to lead people to the website right away. We should still follow the Pearson VUE's guidelines and go through that link until I can get it fixed where they did the old procedure and printed out the application right there. So that's something that I'm working on. Soon I'm going to pass it over to Jackie, but does anyone have questions on everything that I just went over? Yes, and more information will be coming out on 1171 and all the changes. Another change that was in 1171, we expanded on trust accounts and reconciliations to make it easier for licensees to understand that. Place of business, distance learning is now defined. So there are multiple things that I think you'd want to include in your education material. And again, that's Senate Bill 1171. Becky.
It looks like there's a message.
Yes, you indicated that you have not approved the 3 one-hour general classes for distance learning. Is there an intention to do so or not to do so in the future?
No, we certainly will approve distance learning for those 3 courses. We have it set up right now where it's for in-person or live. But if you can have a platform and with access codes into that and show that your course fits the outline, we're more than welcome to approve that distance learning.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Can everyone see the chat message from Commissioner Nicholson?
I saw it.
Okay. She says, I have not approved these for Zoom yet. Interactions for online students will need to be added by schools.
So that tells you about the live.
Elena?
Yes, Todd.
So there seems to be a little confusion between everyone's definition of, I mean, we all know what a live class is. Live streaming Zoom via a tool like Zoom or this tool we're using today. And then distance learning, which is maybe logging in and paying money to take a recorded class in your pajamas at home, right? Is that your definition or?
Distance learning, like I said, is now defined in 1171, and that, in simple terms, is a course that there is not instructor, it is not instructor led. There is not an instructor visibly present in that course.
Okay, so that's not live streaming with an instructor or live classroom with an instructor.
Correct. That would not be distance learning.
Okay, great. That's my understanding too. Thank you.
Of course.
Stay right here. First of all, Elena, great job. She has made so many incredible changes and been part of so much. I'm trying to win her back, but in the back of the room. And I'm going to go back to these courses in a second because I watched Dana Kitchen's face, which I've done for many years, and she still has some questions. Liz Recchia has joined us as since I had to give Elena away, I was so blessed that my new assistant commissioner is Liz Recchia. You all know her as the former government affairs director at WeServe. Yeah, she is incredible. Now the courses, a couple questions, and we're going to go into a couple topics that have been asked and just a little more like to Dana's face. You don't mind, Dana, right? All right. I watch it all the time. She owns it. All right. So what her face is telling me is that 3-hour, 1-hour courses, can you combine them and make one course? Well, yeah, the school can definitely submit that way. The concept is you have to teach in 1-hour increments. If you're going to create a water course, for instance, like Karen K does, that fits the requirements, but it's really for 3 hours, right? Maybe 1 hour of that shifts to the general because it hits the curriculum that we require, and 2 hours can be used in another way, right? But the key is 50-minute segments. Can 50-minute segments be combined? If it makes sense, yes. So this makes sense. Next part was to Todd. Hi, Todd. It's okay. I'm a little confused. I've never in my life heard of the department charging for CE courses. Woo-hoo! Guess what we have? We have something called an education fund. Guess what that education fund does? Lots of cool things, like it prints our law books and it helps us create new ways of contacting you. It helps us with all kinds of things, all education and outreach, right? And so that money is going to go into the education fund so we can continually update you and get resources and do the right things. But again, it's $200 per course, or all 3 courses purchased at $500 in a bundle. I was an instructor for profit because I like to eat. I also was an instructor for volunteerism, which they still feed you. And I will say that I know all of you can see the benefits in exactly what we developed. I mean, I have never been so thorough with a class. If you know me, you know I did my basics and I walk in and I say what I'm going to say. This is so thorough. It actually is scripted to that point for every single slide if somebody needed that kind of information. And I did see earlier in the comments something about the INA and the new AMA and Douglas and all that. And yes, we're aware and we're already updating our water class. That's how on it we are. So really excited about the future with education. Really hope you guys take this and make it your own. I will tell you at the constituent governors meeting, a big issues came in with water and fire. And when I announced that the Department of Real Estate would be educating every single licensee on fire-wise concepts to understand defensible spaces, wildfires, grass fires, and how it affects homeowners insurance and everything that goes with it, at least to get them that reasonable skill and care, I've never seen such an excited department that I didn't know the initials of before Firewise. So, Elena, great job. And I hope I answered things in a more complete.
Raised hand.
Okay, raised hand. Oh, John and then Dana. And
Okay, you're gonna get both of us.
okay, Dana's going first, John. Sorry.
Okay,
That's okay.
with distance learning, and
Yes.
I understand the commissioner has not approved that yet. That would be, of course, just for everybody's knowledge, if you haven't done distance learning, it is written and sent to the department verbatim,
Yeah.
which is even more concise than an outline for an in-person class. What do we do until the commissioner looks at this? Because we have agents from all over the country who have multiple licenses.
Mhm.
They can't be here for an in-person class.
Well, what you would do, 2 potentials here, right? Dana's question is, what do we do since interactive distance learning Exactly what you said, Todd. Pajamas, no one sees your face. Okay, distance learning is not approved yet by this department for these courses. We are trusting in that the schools that provide distance learning, not all of you do, some of you do, would take the content outline at a bare minimum and create the requirements to be able to make that distance learning. So then we can look at each school and what they're doing. Because the big part of distance learning for us is those interactions, right? How do you get that student engagement? How are you certifying it as a student? You know, we have so much to talk about all the time. So, oh, I love it. I love when we're on the same page, Susan. I mean, Commissioner Nicholson. So that's the joy of that. I mean, we're giving you so much meat, and all of it is really, if you're someone who profits from or has, for volunteer purposes, a distance learning platform, create what needs to be created to recertify it for distance learning. Now, the live interactions are not showcased in this outline. So if you're going to do it on Zoom, teach it on Zoom, great. Make sure that you check in and go, okay, these are the interactions I'm going to do through Zoom, because that would be a different kind of breakout than a town hall in person, right? That would be a different kind. So just think about your interactions as you're deciding what kind of format you're going to put it on. But you're right. There's people all over the world, which I love, all over the world that have Arizona real estate licenses, that have the right to make a difference in people's lives here in Arizona in all different facets. Oh, okay, John, your turn.
Thanks. I need to connect the dots here, because I was always under the impression that the real estate department did not have the right to charge for anything and create a separate fund, because we were always told, unless SB 1171 changed this, that everything from the department goes into the general fund and then you work off your budget. And if you all remember, many of us remember going back about a decade ago, where Commissioner Lowe started charging schools for about a year and a half, and then all of a sudden said, we can't do that, and they had to refund all that money. So what changed here? Does SB 1171 contain the language that changes how the department works with these kind of funds?
Yeah, so those are two separate topics altogether. When the Commissioner Lowe started to charge for education, I believe the issue was that the statute specifically says the fee must be set in rule. It was not. So therefore, the department had to stop. To your initial point, the department is not allowed to compete with anyone in the industry on anything that requires a license. And that is statute. Creating a course does not necessitate a license. Does that answer your question, John?
And we have buckets. Tell them about our buckets.
I'm sorry, but that does not answer my question. Am I correct in stating that when we learned back whenever it was that the commissioner did not have the authority to do that because it was not contained in statute? The statute was clear about the budgetary items and everything else. So if there's anything that's changed in a statute, I'd like to know if you're saying it is within SB 1171.
Thank you, John. It's not in SB 1171. And I think there's some misunderstandings, because what you guys were learning about was the IT fund. We have buckets in our budget. And it's like all the appropriation we get lands in buckets. Some goes to staffing, that's most of it. Some goes to other areas like printing of law books. And there's no law change needed for this charge. So basically the money that comes in, we put it in the bucket. Now at the end of our fiscal year, that bucket gets emptied back to the general fund if there's any monies. Our goal is to do exactly what was brought up in this morning's session, which is to hit more outreach and more educational tools that we can create during the year. So hopefully we're not giving the money back, but we're actually providing valuable information. So there are things in statute that do allow this department to charge for breathing on us. But it's no benefit to the department because it just goes directly to the general fund, like all the enforcement and compliance fines. People are like, you're just making money off this. Yeah. No, we don't. It goes to the general fund. But education fund, we can actually hold it for our fiscal year in this little, but we have to use it exactly for what the education fund was needed for. And that's all to do with the governor's office. And they actually hold all our money. We don't just have a blank checkbook here. Everybody makes checks for us and everybody checks everything we pay for. So hopefully that answers. It's a bucket within our, that we're allowed to utilize within that fiscal year. And then the money goes away. The change that we need is for the future, and it's to be able to sustain some of those monies to actually complete projects like our IT project. Does that answer, John? No.
No, I'm just
Well,
gonna
we'll
leave.
have a conversation offline if you
Yeah,
don't
I'm gonna
mind.
leave it. I'm gonna leave it for now because, you know, I'm looking at some of my colleagues and I think there's a lot of disagreement on this, but yes, we'll leave it to go. We'll go offline and talk about it.
And we'll be sure to send out the exact statute to everybody because we have been sending emails out to all school administrators. Susan?
Commissioner.
There's, she put it up there for you. And it actually says great things. We read 10 times now, everything. Any other questions for me or Elena? Great, Elena, it's your turn to turn on.
We're going to pass it over to Jackie to talk about a few items, and just for data purposes, we have 228 active real estate schools, and all 228 will be audited in the next 2 years. That audit workshop is really important that you attend that, and I look forward to seeing you all at the next town hall and the September 11th meeting for the audit workshop. Thank you, and over to Jackie.
Good morning, everyone online as well as in front of me. It is my sincere and great pleasure to introduce April Halstead as our new education specialist. I'm very excited to have her. And we both started here at the department in licensing, and we've both now been promoted to education. So it's going to be great to have someone by my side and knocking heads and et cetera, et cetera. So this morning, what I'm here to talk about is the volunteer course monitors. As you well know, some of your schools, you do have monitors that do come in and monitor a course on behalf of the department. Before, they would just pick a course, let us know, we'd put on the calendar, the licensee would just call the school and register themselves. Now the process has changed a little bit, and what the process will be is we as the department, Elena, April, myself, Jim, Mandy, and Commissioner, will all decide on the courses that we want monitored. And what will happen at that point is we will register the student with the school so that you know who the monitor is. And just so you know, when the monitor is going to be monitoring for us, they will be taking notes. So they may not be as engaged as your other students, but please recognize the fact that they are representing the department and not just there for a CE certificate. So, and the process, if anyone has any questions on that so far? The process for the volunteer monitor is we do have an application form that they do send to us, and they have to attend training. So once their application is approved, they have to be licensed for at least 2 years. They have to be active. They can't have any disclosure disciplines taken against them. So we try to get the best of the best. So that's our point.
And
Dana?
the training is not the 4 hours.
The training is, it's just a 15-minute video. Dana, question?
When it comes to in-person classes that are charging,
Mm-hmm.
and you're registering your monitor,
Mm-hmm.
how are you letting the school know about that in that way, that we, the sponsors know, do not collect money from this person? We want to make it as easy as possible for your monitors.
That's correct. So it is advertised out there to any of the monitors that it's a free course, and I can tell you that I get calls probably about 3 days before their license expires that they want to be a course monitor, and we can't do that, but unfortunately. So usually now that we have this new system, once we tell them what course they are, we'll try and give you as much notice as possible so that you can be tell the sponsors that they don't need to charge them.
And that being said, when does this go into effect?
It is in fact.
It is.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Any questions so far? on that? Okay. The next topic is, I'm sure everyone's very excited about. It's coming in about 6 months. The SAD. Everybody loves the SAD, and April and I did it the last SAD time 2 years ago. And so we're all aware of it. So everybody be ready. Come December, you'll get your school audit. Oh, the acronym is the school audit declaration. So, any questions on the school audit? It would probably be the same Google form. Is that correct, Jim? So watch for that. And if you don't send it in on time, we will be contacting you. So. And that is all I have to say. April, you have anything you want to add?
I'm
Okay.
looking forward to serving everybody. Thank you.
Thank you.
If we have any other questions, otherwise this concludes the education town hall and we will see you next quarter.
Karen has one.
Karen.
Okay, so she said the school audit declaration is going to start in September, and then you mentioned a September 11th at 10 a.m. date.
Yes, so the September 11th is an audit workshop. That's where I will explain step by step the audit process. So full transparency, you'll know exactly what goes into the actual audit process.
Okay, and then the auditing process itself will come sometime after that in September.
The audit process is already in effect. This workshop is just as a courtesy for me to explain to educators what the audit process is and what step-by-step we take, what we audit, what different classifications of audits there are. So that's basically what that is. It's different. What Jackie is talking about is a form that is required in December.
Ah, okay, perfect, thank you.
Brokerage audit.
Yes. So in the September workshop, we'll talk about brokerage audits versus school audits versus timeshare versus membership campground, everything that goes into that. TAR, education.
Good morning. Yes, Lisa Nutt here in Tucson. Thank you. I had a quick question. Will there be a summary of today's meeting provided to us via email with links to, for example, this legislation or any other parts of code that were referenced?
I'm happy to send an email to the link to Senate Bill 1171, but the meeting has been recorded and will be on YouTube as well as a link on our website.
Okay, great. Thank you. I took notes, but I know I missed some things, so I wanted to make sure. Thank you.
You're welcome.